relationships, super important. Your wealth goals, super important. Career goals, whatever it is, super important. Giving back, super important. But the why about your health? Because again, that health is so foundational. You can't give back whether you just want to make a lot of money and buy a bunch of Ferraris and just never help anybody. It's super selfish and whatever. Or whether you want to give it all away to charity. Hard to do if your health isn't what it needs to be. Hard to achieve that. Can you believe it? It's almost the end of 2021. We're coming up on the end of the third quarter. And I asked myself recently, Ted, you've got 3 months left. What are you going to do with it? And that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. That's the question I want to pose for you, because we're probably in the same boat. I don't know about you, but 2021 was a rough year for me. I started out with the death of my dad, or coming off of the death of my dad in October. I had great plans to go to Brazil and spend Christmas and New Year's in Brazil, which I did. But two days before Christmas, I came down with COVID, and that was months going on. And then I had some other health issues. I had a colonoscopy and found a giant polyp in my colon that I haven't had a colonoscopy until this year. And now I'm going to finish the year with 3 of them. Now I'm okay, just to let you know, I'm doing well. It was caught in time. It didn't turn into cancer, but it's been a rough go at things. I was in Brazil for 8 months, not knowing what to do with myself or where to go. Now, of course, I've been working with clients, stepping up. I always serve my clients at the highest level. I always step up for them. I always do what I need to for my clients. But that's kind of, and I want this to come across as the right way. That's the easy stuff for me. I love coaching clients. The hard stuff is building my business, right? Doing the podcast, working with clients, doing interviews, that's the easy stuff. I love it. I love getting on calls with my clients, seeing their wins, celebrating their wins with them, seeing how not just their bodies change, but their life changes. I love getting on interviews, talking to new people, learning new things, sharing that energy. I love coming here and doing these solo episodes. I love it. I don't always feel like I'm or bringing my A game, rather, like today. I've had a rough few days, a rough week. I can talk about that in a second, but I want to stay focused right now. But I love doing this. But you know what I don't love doing? The things that we all don't love doing, the things that we know that we need to do, the things that give us so much anxiety when we don't do them. But for some reason, we just, scroll on. This is me, for example. I'm talking purely personal experience here, although I'm sure you can relate. Scrolling on social media. At least I'm not arguing with strangers, but it's not that much better what I'm doing, right? It's not that much better. It's just less stressful what I do, but it's still procrastinating. We all have those things. And I want to ask you, you've got 3 months left. What are you going to do with it? And in case you're new to the podcast, well, welcome to Real Talk Friday. We start strong. We hit hard. We have a real conversation about things. We go beyond, some of the talk about all the details of the nutrition, all the details that people love to talk about when it comes to health and nutrition and lifting. A lot of that's a distraction from the stuff that we talk about every Friday. So I hope you enjoyed. And by the way, welcome to the show, Legendary Life Podcast. I am your host, Ted Rice. I'm a coach to entrepreneurs, CEOs, and other high-performing professionals. Been doing it for 23 years. And still going strong. Never been a better coach or served my clients at a higher level, but I'll tell you, it's been a tough couple years, hasn't it? I hope you listen to that and say, well, actually things are going pretty well for me. But at some level, we all know, even if we're not suffering personally, we know other people who are suffering. How can you not see the suffering right now even if it's just all the people who are arguing about politics or the vaccination thing. I mean, I looked at some stats recently from the US, a survey on stress. And you know what the number one source of stress was? It wasn't family. It wasn't money. It was the future of our country, the direction that we're going in. That's what we're all dealing with. And at the same time, we're trying to make it happen for ourselves, achieve our goals. And I want to ask you, how have you been doing this year? What goals did you start out with? Did you think that, like me, I don't know about you, I thought the coronavirus thing, I'm like, man, this is going to be over in 2021. Things are going to be back to normal. Europe's going to go open up. I've been dying to travel to Europe. I've never been there. Well, I went to the UK when I was 17, but I was with my parents and I was a dumb 17-year-old. I didn't really get to enjoy it. The UK is such an amazing place, but I want to see Italy. I want to see Greece. I want to go to Barcelona. I want to go to Ibiza. I want to go to Italy. I want to see the Colosseum. I want to go to Sparta in Greece, I want to go see some historical places. And although that might seem like hashtag first world problems, I mean, that's my life, right? And I think this is really important. No matter what level you're living life at, no matter what SES level, socioeconomic level, no matter what your education is, no matter what your money situation is, we're all struggling. I had some very wealthy clients from Miami Beach tell me, oh man. And I mean, this guy, he's, I don't know, probably not worth 100 million, but he's worth tens of millions of dollars. This guy, and his wife was telling me, it's been so stressful. It's been such a stressful situation. And she's talking about Miami Beach, a place in Florida, a place that didn't even go through the same level of lockdown that other places in the country went through or other places in the world went through. It's been crazy for everyone. And again, I want to come back to the question here. What are you going to do with the last 3 months? This is a question I've been asking myself. And I feel like I've gotten a little bit distracted. I don't know about you, but I've been feeling a bit distracted. I made some big commitments to myself. I invested in coaching this year. I signed up for a year in a coaching program for my business because I needed direction, I needed accountability, and it's been awesome so far. But like all coaching, by the way, in case if you work with coaches, you know this, but you don't hire a coach and they do the work for you. People don't hire me and I work out and eat the right things for them. They've got to do the work. I'm there, but they've got to do the work. There's no, and I think this is a great lesson here. There's no getting around the work that you need to do for yourself. Coaches can help. Accountability groups can help, but there's no getting around doing the work. And I say that strongly, not just for you, but for myself as well, to keep myself focused. Also, I've hired a bunch of coaches. I'm getting writing coaching right now because one of the things I'm really struggling with is I want to share my story at a higher level. I want to share in a more impactful way. I want to make more of a difference. It's killing me inside not to make a bigger difference. And on another note, I had a similar tangent, maybe what it is that I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He had a really rough time. He's a big time speaker, does a lot of keynotes all over the world. But guess how many keynotes he did when the world shut down? 0, right? Of course, 0, right? I mean, he did some talks online, but his whole business was turned over, and it was a tough situation for him. Now he's back in gear. And he was having a conversation with me recently, and he said, and he just threw an offer my way. And the offer is to be part of this televised expedition and to be part of it, and nothing too crazy. We're not talking even climbing Mount Kilimanjaro here. I'll tell you more about it as it progresses, as
we go through the process to see whether I get selected for it or not. But part of the selection, part of what they want is a strong social media following. And it just woke me up like, oh my gosh, I've been doing okay, but I really need to ramp things up. I really need to take this year seriously. I really need to focus these last 3 months and make something happen here. If the opportunities are going to come back, and you know who's going to get them? The people who pull it together now. And I want to ask you, in what way do you need to step up the last 3 months of the year? Is it in your career, your wealth, your business, in that wealth arena? Is it with relationships? Is it with your wife? Is it with your husband? Is it with your children? Is it with your, parents, extended family, friends? In what way do you need to step up? Or is it with your health, which is obviously the cornerstone of what we talk about here on this podcast? And there's a very important reason why that is. And you may say, well, it's because you sell coaching about health, Ted. Well, got me. That is true. But you know what else is true? Our health is our cornerstone. It is our foundation. It is the foundation that we build our relationships on. Our health gives us the energy to put into our relationships. Our health gives us the energy to put into our careers. All you got to see is what's going on right now with the coronavirus. I don't know about you, but I start feeling a little sore throat or the sniffles. I think I'm going to die. It kind of takes me out of the game. Not really, I'm exaggerating, but I think you know what I'm talking about. If you've got a little bit of an anxiety problem like I do, you start feeling a little bit anxious. You're like, when you're like, I sneeze and I'm like, oh man, am I getting the Rona again? Is it going to land me up in the hospital this time, It's the cornerstone. If there's one thing I think we've learned from all this is that without our health, we don't have much. And I want to ask you, how much progress have you made in your health in these last months? So many of us put on weight from all the lockdowns, all the restrictions, and all the stress. That's one thing that doesn't get talked about enough. That stress drives our behavior. And for most of us, the behaviors that happen when we're stressed is that we do more drugs like alcohol, marijuana, or whatever else you're into, and we eat more. I got into great shape in 2020 during the lockdown, actually. But my dad's death, that kicked my ass. And I made a commitment to myself. I'm going to get into great shape again in these next 3 months. I started tracking my workouts again. I started tracking my nutrition again. And I want to ask you, where are you with your health? And what's your anxiety level about your health? How are your energy levels this year? Are you proud of what you see in the mirror? And I'll be honest with you, right now, I'm not. Now, I'll also be honest with you. I mean, my standard might be different than yours. I was at maybe sub 10% body fat last year and feeling good. Not like, oh, I'm sub 10% body fat, but I haven't had an erection in a month and I can barely get out of this chair because I'm so tired because I'm barely eating. No, I felt great. But now I'm back up to probably, 14, 15%. I'm determined to get back down. And I want to ask you, what are you determined to do? Do you have a goal for your health? For me, I want to see 10% body fat again. That's the outcome though. I'll tell you what my goal really is. Start tracking my workouts again. Boom, I've started doing that. Start tracking my nutrition again. Because the truth is the outcome is so easy to make happen when we show up every single day to do what we need to do, or every single week in the case of tracking the workouts. By the way, that's a pro tip right there. If you're not tracking your workouts, oh, but I don't like tracking. It's like, yeah, but you like the results from doing it. And if you've never done it, let me tell you, track for a couple months, track for 1 month, challenge yourself. So often we tell a story about what it's going to be like to do something. Oh, I don't want to track. And listen, I'm guilty of this. When I hired a coach to help me get lean in 2019, when I was in Bangkok, And I knew I was going to have to track my nutrition for the first time, really have to dial it in. I didn't want to do it. I was like, oh man, I just like, because I'm a baby. I don't know how you think of me like I'm some perfect person. Some people think that I've got my act together. I try to show up here and, people think I'm so cocky sometimes. I'm like, have you heard me talk about how all the mistakes I made and all the silliness that I've done? I mean, I am confident. I know what I'm doing. I can help people. I've got a lot of experience, but I've made a lot of dumb mistakes, probably dumber mistakes than you because I've had more time to do this stuff because this is my whole business, my whole life. So yeah. So I want to see a big difference. 15% body fat is my new standard that is not good. And it's not because I'm using unrealistic standards. It's just that I know I'm playing small right now. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to do what so many people do, try the extreme approaches. Got into an argument with someone recently. It's like actually, it wasn't an argument. It was a discussion, but they're like, oh, I just need to go back to paleo because when I did that, I lost a lot of weight. It really worked for me. I was like, yeah, but why'd you stop? Oh, well, it was really hard to keep up. And this, then it didn't work for you. It didn't work. I mean, let's just be honest, right? If something works, then it works, period. It doesn't work for when you're motivated. You know what I mean? Even me, I was able to keep 15% body fat, which is still healthy, by the way. It just isn't social media lean. Right? I got the pressure to be social media lean. 15% body fat isn't impressive on social media, right? But so I'm healthy. It works in that way. And actually it was working before. I just got thrown that curveball with my dad's death. And I'm not going to get into how heavy it was in case you don't know the story, but it was heavy. It was heavy, man. A lot of stuff coming up. So yeah, I'm not going to do those extreme approaches. I've got to do it the right way. And that's what tracking is, because you know what tracking is? Oh, it's so extreme. It's like, listen, is it extreme to use a recipe to cook a meal? If it's so extreme to know what goes in your food, why not just eyeball everything? Why not just put in a bunch of salt or a bunch of cumin into that dish that you're making? Why? Because the amounts matter. The amounts matter for the end result. Now, if you're not a cook, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But if you add too much salt to something, kind of ruins it. Add too much sugar to something, kind of ruins it, depending on what type of person you are. Of course, some of us have a real sweet tooth. But that's what tracking is. It helps you learn what's going on. It helps you create the right recipe for you for fat loss. And tracking my workouts, it helps me because we all think we're doing good enough, but then when we see the data, we realize the truth that we're kind of overestimating how good we are. That's why I have all my clients, or, it's been difficult with the lockdowns, depending on what country you're in, especially Canada or Australia. But I have my clients go and get body fat tests. And it's so interesting. It's like, yeah, I'm probably about 20% body fat. Boom. They get the test. What are they? 24% body fat, 26% body fat. We always kind of overestimate. So the data helps us dial things in. Don't be afraid of the data. Don't think that it's unnecessary work. It's not. It's training your mind to see the truth. And so that's what I'm doing personally. Because I've tried the extreme approaches. I went to the emergency room with a panic attack because I tried an extreme low calorie, low carb diet. It was a low carb diet. I know it was low calorie, but they told me it was low carb. It worked, but also I started having panic attacks and didn't understand why. So what do you want to achieve? And then the second thing that we're talking about now is how are you going to go about achieving it? Because if what you're doing is the same thing that you've tried on and off again so many times, but it didn't lead to those long-term results, then I want to challenge you to try something different. And I want you to keep this in mind. Not only is what you want to achieve important, and how you're going to achieve it. In other words, what strategies you're going to achieve important, but why? Why do you want to achieve this? Why do you want to achieve, say, a goal for your health? And I'll tell you what I've learned about health in particular. Now, I don't want to take away from the other goals that you might have in your life. The relationships, super important. Your wealth goals, super important. Career goals, whatever it is, super important. Giving back, super important. But the why about your health? Because again, that health is so foundational. You can't give back whether you just want to make a lot of money and buy a bunch of Ferraris and just never help anybody. This is super selfish and whatever. Or whether you want to give it all away to charity. Hard to do if your health isn't what it needs to be. Hard to achieve that. Hard to achieve great relationships when you're irritable because you didn't sleep well, because you have problems sleeping because of some of your eating and drinking habits. Or whether you don't show up in your relationships because the first thing you see in the mirror in the morning is something that really leaves a bad taste in your mouth for the rest of the day, really makes you feel like the rest of the day is shot. I've had so many clients share that with me. I see myself in the mirror. I don't like what I see, and that sets the tone for the rest of the day. So stepping up in this area, it's the foundation. Something I've said already several times today, and I say it because I believe it. I believe that our health is the foundation. And I'll tell you, we've seen in our program, the people who go through it, not only does their body change, and this is the thing that I want to tell you about body transformation, because we're in a situation where, 70% of the population of the United States is overweight or obese. If you're a guy and you're not under 20% body fat, that's not a high standard. I don't care what car you're driving. I don't care how many millions you're making or even $1 billion. You've got low standards in this area of your life. I want to tell you, because some people wonder, is it really going to be worth it to change my body? And I want to tell you something. There's not one person who I've ever worked with or that's worked with other people because I have a lot of friends who do the same thing, or friendly business acquaintances. And all our clients say the same thing. And I want to tell you this, whether you decide to work with me or not, or to do this on your own, which I'll be honest with you, some of you can do this on your own. Most of you can't, because if you would have achieved it already. Or maybe you did achieve it, but it was because you started running triathlons or did a bodybuilding contest or got in shape for a martial arts competition. And then once you stopped all that hardcore training because it took a toll on your body or took a toll on your lifestyle, then you got fat again, right? But some of you can do it on your own. And I want to tell you, no matter what situation you're in, whether you're here trying to figure out if I'm the right coach for you, whether you're here trying to get free information to do it on your own, it's worth it. Transforming my physique when I was 44 years old, 43 years old. I'm having trouble with my, birthday math now. 43 years old. It was incredible. Oh, I'm sorry, 42 years old. When I was 42, back in 2019, struggling with basic math, people, bear with me. When I was 42, it was so incredible. And it wasn't because I looked at myself in the mirror and saw my abs in the vein. If you remember from that time, I was like, I got this vein on my ab. That vein's gone, unfortunately. I want to get the vein back, but I would talk about the vein that popped out on my ab. I did that. And it was nice to see the change in the mirror. I was happy with what I saw, especially when you're getting older. I'm 44, I was 42 when I made the big change. And other parts of aging, you have no control over. If you're like me, your hair falls out. If you're lucky enough to have your hair, it turns gray. Your skin gets weird. You're like, those are some interesting changes that are happening. Kind of don't like them. But you know what you have control over? Your body fat percentage. It may be hard to control. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you've got zero control over those other things. I mean, you can get Botox, you can dye your hair, but come on, that's not real control. That's hiding. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that you have serious control over your body. And when you get into that place, when you see people in that place, and I was in that place, here's the truth about body transformation. It's not about, they have lower body fat, so they're better than you. But I'll tell you this, I was a better version of myself when I was leaner. Not because I was leaner, not because I had lower body fat, but because of how I had my life together to make that happen. Does that make sense? So it wasn't about the muscles. It wasn't about the leanness. It was about the things that I needed to do, the person I needed to become, to not just have the leanness, because there's a lot of lean folks, believe me, especially the young guys in their 20s, girls in their 20s, who are complete messes emotionally, relationships. There's total messes. I know I used to be one, but I'm talking about I'm talking about looking that way, but also having a healthy life, being healthy emotionally, having healthy relationships, having a healthy relationship with your work, whatever it might be. It's not about the leanness. It's about the person that you had to become. And I'm not as good of a person as that person was who made that change. Now, again, of course, am I compassionate with myself? Of course, I went through some heavy stuff, folks, with the death of my dad. But the truth is the truth. And I want to get back to that place. And I'll tell you the strategy that, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I really got to get back to that place. What do I need to do? The strategy that we use, I just went back to the strategy. I'm just going back to what worked for me then, because it really worked. It really, really, really worked. I was even drinking alcohol for the first time. I was in a good place. I'm not saying that drinking alcohol was good, but for me, I felt like I couldn't even have a drink because it would mess up my sleep and make me feel horrible. But I was really in such a good place that I could afford to drink a couple drinks and I was feeling okay. And in the strategy that we use for our clients and that I've returned to for myself is really simple: nutrition, training, sleep, and stress management. That's what equals body transformation. The nutrition, you got to know what's going in. If you don't know if you're eating a meal that's 1,200 calories or 500 calories, that's a problem. You don't have to know whether it's 600 or 500, but if you have no idea, is this 500? Is this 1,200? I have no idea. If you're clueless, that's a problem. And with training, if you're still doing bro splits or working within rep ranges that, if you're not training using principles of progressive overload and tracking your results to make sure that you're doing more than what you did last time, you're just making it hard for yourself. If you're not sleeping well, it makes it hard to stay on track with nutrition because you're going to be hungry. You're going to be irritable. You're going to be tired. So you're not going to want to train. And stress management. And I've talked a lot about stress management. But the way I look at stress management is like this. So many people feel like, I'm just missing some information. So if you just give me the information, I can go use that information and get the result that I've been wanting. So easy. But guess what? Most of the time when I do that, guess what? They can't do it. Well, what is the problem? Is it the method? No, because this is the easiest method ever. Or let's not say that. Let's say it's way easier than eating paleo or cutting out all the carbs when you love carbs. This works. It's the way to have your cake and eat it too, literally. But a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of people struggle with, even if I gave them an extreme low carb diet, a strict, let's not say extreme, but strict low carb diet, where it's like, is that a carb? Don't eat it. It's got carbs, you just don't eat it, right? Such a ridiculous approach, but it can work because it cuts calories. But a lot of people struggle with it. Why? Because stress knocks out our prefrontal cortex, that part of our brain that puts us in the driver's seat. So many of us, and let me know if this resonates, we're not in the driver's seat. Why are we scrolling on social media? Why am I checking my phone again? Why am I checking my email again? Why am I trying to focus in this conversation or this meeting, but my mind keeps going elsewhere? Why can't I stay focused? How come that, I shouldn't order, I know not to order the cheeseburger and the fries and the milkshake, or if I'm out at a steak restaurant, I should maybe not get the Wagyu, that special Wagyu, I forget what it is, the Wagyu 8 or whatever, where it's just like a big piece of fat and there's very little protein in it. It's like, it's not even a steak. It's like just fat, right? You know what to order, but you can't do it. That's because of stress. So once you dial these things in, that's it. There's no weird diets. There's no killing yourself at the gym. In fact, the worst way to try to burn fat is to do more exercise. It's so much easier to cut a couple hundred calories from your day if you know what you're doing than it is to burn a couple hundred extra. Yeah, adding more exercise, it just doesn't work. I mean, if you're sedentary and you start exercising, okay. So many people say, "Oh, that's not true, Ted. I started exercising, I lost a bunch of weight." Yeah, because you were a couch potato before. You went from couch potato to not a couch to someone who gets up off their ass regularly and works out. That's going to give you some results. But if you're already in the zone, if you're already showing up to the gym, if you're already not a couch potato, you can't exercise harder and make it work. It's not going to happen. And no hopping from program to program, just steady results month after month, So yeah, I want to tell you, this is what I'm working on right now. And I want you to think about your goals for this year, the rest of this year, this last 3 months. And I want you to think about this. Whatever you're doing right now, you got to think like this. If you're not making big moves, and this could be with your health, your wealth, your relationships, your career, anywhere in your life purpose, whatever it is, if you're not making big moves, only the big moves matter. We like to cry and whine, and I'm guilty of this too, so don't take it personally. But we say, "Oh, but I don't want to give this thing up. I don't want to give up my late night Netflix binges or my, whatever it is, my wine every night." It's like, are you really going to look back in 2022 and say, "Wow, I'm so glad that I had all that wine all those nights because it really made such a difference in my life. I'm so glad that I ate dessert every night, or maybe dessert and wine every night. I'm so glad I did that because it made such a difference in my life. It really changed." And the truth is, most of what we're so afraid of giving up, in a year from now, we don't even remember what happened. But I'll tell you this, if you make big strides in your career, if you make big strides with your wealth, if you make big strides to give back, if you make big strides in your relationships, and certainly if you make big strides with your health, you're going to look back at that and say, "Wow, I'm so glad I did that." And I want to tell you this, and I want to wrap up. If you are a person, the pitch is coming. If you are a person and you want my help, I want to just tell you, we're taking on clients. We're not taking on a lot of clients. We're taking on a handful of clients. Not going to even drop a number yet. So we're in the process of working through a lot of things with our business, with the coach, and that's the priority. But we are taking clients again. And if you want my help to get in shape, if you want to do this in a way where you get steady results month after month, with no weird diets, no restricting, no special foods, no killing yourself in the gym, no struggling to figure out what works, because I know what works. And yes, you'll have to do the work, but if you're already working hard and not seeing results, why not get results from that? And I want to ask you, what if you could lose 4 to 6 pounds in the first week? What if you could lose 20 to 30 pounds in 3 months? I know it may sound ridiculous, the 4 to 6 pounds in the first week, but go watch my client stories if you're not a believer. All of them have the same experience. And so what I want to tell you is, if you want that and you feel like you're an action taker and you're a person, I'll be honest with you, a person who's really ready for this change. I work with, I've helped people all over the world, from engineers in England to business consultants in Singapore to entrepreneurs in America. And actually, I had an entrepreneur from Pakistan. But you got to be a high performer. If you're not a high performer, this isn't for you. Don't feel like you're getting pitched to, because it's not for you. It's for high performers. People are really playing at a high level. Not that you maybe not, I'm sure you're great at what you do, and no disrespect, but for people who are really operating at a high level, because to be honest, those are the people who do what it takes to get results. So this is for high performers. If you're a person and you're blaming the food pyramid or your metabolism or your hormones or whatever, and you're not a person who invests in yourself, if you've never worked with a coach before, I'm not going to be the one that sits on a call and tries to explain to you the power of working with a coach. You'll have to figure that out on your own. Because most of my clients, they've worked with therapists, they've worked with coaches already. And if you're that person like I am, I'm working with a bunch of different coaches, like I told you at the beginning. So if you're that person, I'll tell you what, I do work so well that I've been working with clients for nearly 23 years, and I'm at the top of my game. I know how to help you, especially if you have injuries, if you've got a lack of time, whatever it is, I can help you. But you got to be ready. So here's how it goes. I'm opening up calls for the next few days. We'll jump on the phone for about 45 minutes. You can tell me everything that you're trying to accomplish, and we'll create the perfect strategy to get there fast, safe, and effectively, and of course, sustainably. And to book your session, you go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. That's legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. And you know who you are. If you're ready, book the call. I'm going to take a handful of clients, I guess maybe 5-ish clients, and then I'm closed again. So if you want in on this, take action today, sign up for it. And of course, if you're not, well, hey, listen, take all the information that you heard here today and put it into action. I mean, high performers, do I really need to tell you what you need to do? You know what you need to do. Go do it. Now, if you're a person who has trouble taking action, if you're a person who keeps listening to podcasts and reading blog posts and you think you're so smart because you have all this information in your head, but you don't take any action on it, I want to leave you with this challenge. Look, I've been you before. I've been that person before. Take action on something we talked about today. Force yourself into, this is the best piece of advice that I can give you. Force yourself, push yourself into taking action. There's going to be a lot of inertia. You're not going to want to do it. You're not going to have the time to do it. You're not going to feel the motivation to do it. That is the bullshit part of you that's talking. The best part of yourself, that's the person who wants to make the big strides in your life, wherever it is. So challenge yourself to take some small action today, now, right after listening to this, whatever it is, in whatever area you're trying to achieve. And that's what I want to leave you with. I hope you enjoyed today. Keep crushing it out there. And for my high performers, looking forward to speaking to you on a call. For the rest of you, the challenge stands: take action. Have an amazing weekend. Love you lots. Talk to you soon. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. And as you already know, on Mondays, we're releasing some really special episodes that are part of my coaching course. I decided to release these exclusively for my podcast for a limited time only, so you can have a sneak peek at what I teach inside the course. And this time, you're going to learn about troubleshooting fat loss plateaus. What does that mean? So you're losing fat, but then all of a sudden the fat loss stops. What do you do? I'm an expert at this because, well, quite frankly, I've had to become an expert in this because that's my job. And I'm going to share my best strategies for breaking through a fat loss plateau. Excuse me, can't speak English right now. So tune in on Monday and I'll speak to you then.